This is the 200 watt Anker Prime. It sits right in the middle of Anker's new Prime lineup, but it still packs a ton of charging power. It can recharge a bunch of tech all at once, or even a MacBook Air at full speed. This thing is really fast. It's great for on-the-go power, so let's take a look. Hey guys, Jack here. I make videos about all things tech. I bought this myself. I think this is a really great everyday power bank. I've linked to it below. I've got some charging tests to share with you. The Prime lineup is all about high power output for power hungry laptops or recharging a bunch of tech all at once on the go. This thing packs a total of 200 watts of power output across all three ports combined. Let me know what your fastest power bank is in the comments. I've already made a video on the biggest Prime that has even more charging power and some pretty useful Bluetooth features that you'll only find on that model. But I am still waiting for the little Diddy Prime to come back into stock so I can compare all three. Hit like and let me know if that's something that you want to see. The 200 watt fits right in with the rest of the Prime lineup. They all share a similar design. It's about 4 centimeters shorter than the 250 watt and lighter, but still over 500 grams or just over a pound, so you are going to notice it. It feels really solid, but it's definitely more of a backpack power bank. That's really hard to say. It's probably not going to fit in any jean pockets. It has the same big glossy black plastic front, which looks pretty sleek, but yeah, as I said last time, it does like to collect fingerprints. I'm not sure why so many companies are obsessed with glossy black, but here we are. This is the black finish, which I'd say is more of a metal grey colour. There is also a gold option as well. Up top we have all the ports, the same number as the Big Brother with 2 USB-C ports and 1 USB-A. I did question last time why these still have A ports, and a load of you commented and said that you're still using USB-A cables. Personally for me, I've pretty much switched everything over to USB-C now, but yeah, it is definitely useful to have the A port for older devices and compatibility. On the bottom we have the 5-pin connector found on all three Primes to work with the charging base, and I'll pick up on this later in the video. It's a really cool, convenient add-on. On the right side there's a single button for turning on the smart display, and I love this feature. It's one of the things that sets the Prime apart from traditional power banks. It gives you all sorts of info. By default, you get a nice big battery percentage. Then when in use, you get all these other stats. You can see all of the input and output from each port, and it's pretty cool being able to see these update in real time as you connect more devices and the power gets redistributed. You can also see the remaining time, which tells you how long until the Prime completely runs out of power based on how much it's currently outputting. Just remember, most devices move to slower charging after about 50% or so, but this timer will change to reflect that. And it also changes to show the recharge time of the power bank itself when it's on charge. As I said, it's really fast. You can literally see the numbers ticking up, and it's really useful for giving you a rough idea for how long it's actually going to take. Using the button to go to the next page, you have some stats on things like battery health and cycles and temperature. It can get quite warm charging something that draws a lot of power like a laptop, so I would say keep it out on the desk and not tucked away in a bag for things like that. The next page lets you set how long until the screen turns off and goes to sleep. And on the last one, you can set the screen brightness. Now, I have a lot of lights set up when I'm filming in here, so it might look a little bit dim, but it is perfectly readable in normal conditions with the nice big icons. The bigger 250 watt does have a slightly brighter display. So let's get into the actual battery specs. This has a 20,000 milliamp hour capacity, which is enough for about 3 charges of your average smartphone or a full recharge of a MacBook Air. I have done some tests with some of my devices, which we'll look at in a moment. This measures in at 72 watt hours, which is comfortably under the 100 watt hour limit that most airlines have for flying. So yes, you can take this with you on a plane in your carry-on. In fact, all the power banks in the Prime lineup are under that limit. Now, one of the main points of the Prime lineup is the high power output. It's another feature that sort of separates these apart from the lower end power banks. And while this is 200 watts on paper, that's actually the total output when more than one port is being used. So to break it down, for single device charging using one port at a time, you'll get up to 100 watts from either C port or 65 from the A port. When charging 2 devices, you'll get up to 100 watts from each C port. Pretty wild. You could quickly top up a couple of laptops at the same time if you really wanted. or 100 watts from a C port and 65 from the A port. And for 3-device charging using all the ports together, you get up to 100 watts from C1, 60 from C2, and 40 from the A, giving a total output of 200 watts. More than enough to fast charge most phones and tablets. iPhones and iPads, for example, take a max of around 30 watts. It charged my 15 Pro Max to 50% in just 31 minutes, with a full charge taking an hour 48, with 56% left on the Prime. So we'll get about 2 and a bit charges for a big battery phone like the 15 Pro Max. For my 12.9-inch iPad Pro, it got to 50% in 48 minutes, and just under 2 hours to get to 96% before the Prime was empty. The Pro has a pretty big battery, so expect more charges for an iPad Air or iPad Mini. Anker says it'll get you a full charge for a MacBook Air. For something with a bigger battery, it took my 16-inch MacBook Pro from 0 to 50% in only 35 minutes, with a little bit of juice left over, getting it to 58% before the Prime finally hit 0. The C ports have the highest output, so I'd recommend using those for power-hungry devices like laptops, and stick to the C1 port if you've got a few other devices plugged in to get the fastest possible charging. But the bottom line is, if you need a fast top-up on the go, maybe you're working in a coffee shop or somewhere without any outlets, then this has got you covered. You can also enable trickle charging with a double press of the side button. You'll see a green dot on the display when it's on, and this just stops the power bank from shutting off when charging low power devices like earbuds or a smartwatch. Now, there is a couple of ways to recharge the Prime. Firstly, it has a 100 watt maximum input via USB-C. It does come with a 140 watt USB-C cable in the box and this carry pouch, but you don't get a charger. I've been using Anker's 737 charger, and this has a max output of 100 watts from a single C port, so they're a perfect match. You could also use your laptop or MacBook charger, but with the 737 it took 51 minutes to do a full recharge. You can use lower power chargers, but then you're going to be looking at maybe a couple of hours or so to do a full charge. It also supports pass-through, so yes, you can charge into it while charging out to something else, which always comes in handy. But also for recharging, you can use this. Anker has a separate charging base that you can get. All 3 of the Prime power banks have a set of contact pins on the bottom, so when you place the Prime on top, it lines up magnetically and recharges via those pins at the same 100 watt speed. It takes me about 60 minutes to do a full recharge using the base. It makes for a really nice desk accessory as well. It has its own A port and 2 C ports, so you can use it as a bit of a desktop hub. It makes recharging the Prime just way more convenient. It's like a little home for it. You don't have to remember to plug in after a heavy day of use. You can just set it down and then it'll be ready to go whenever you need it next. The only thing that bothers me is the magnets are stronger than the weight of the base itself. So yeah, you might yank it off your desk when you go to grab it. I have gotten used to it now. You can, tilt the power bank to the side to pick it up that way. The base does come with some sticky pads in the box, but I like to move this around, so not really a fan of those. I'd much rather they just made the base a bit heavier. It's $70 or £60. It's not essential, but it is nice and convenient to have as a place to keep the Prime charged up, so it's ready to grab and go whenever you need it next. Overall, another solid Anker power bank. For anyone needing a lot of power output on the go, it is, kind of chunky, but it's, a relatively small size overall. It sits right in the middle of the lineup with a smaller capacity and output versus the flagship, but still enough for quickly topping up a MacBook on the go, or giving you a few charges for your phone or small tablet. You are paying a premium for things like the high output and the smart display. It comes in at $130 or pounds, but it's an all-round great power bank for everyday use. Links are in the description. Let me know what you think in the comments. I am interested to see how the little Prime compares. It looks kind of cute. Get subscribed and hit the bell if you want to see that too. And just to mention, Anker still sells their original 737 power bank. It's a precursor to all of these Primes. It has a bigger capacity than this and a higher single port max output, but a smaller screen and lower total output. The Prime 200 beats it out for multi-device charging. And as it's last year's model, I have seen it discounted a few times, so it's also worth checking out, and it's still a great buy. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and remember to let me know what your fastest power bank is in the comments. I'm curious to know. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.